Hey, how's it going, everybody? I just thought I'd go ahead and shoot a video while I'm working on this today. I'm doing a Radium catch can for the PCV valve on a 2005 Honda S2000. Let me just show you real quick what the kit looks like here. I don't have the PCV hose in here. I just left it inside to kind of let it warm up. It's freezing ass in my garage. But yeah, here's our bracket. If you're not sure if this is the correct video to watch for your specific setup, here is the part number, serial number for what I bought. As you can see there, it says 2000 to 05, and this is just for the PCV valve itself. So mine's a 2005, so I kind of have that nice newer metal PCV valve compared to the plastic ones that the pre-2004 have. I don't know if that's special for 2005 or if my previous owner put on a new valve cover, but that's what mine looks like. And then just a quick little run over the tools. You're going to want probably a monkey wrench here so that way you can get some of these fittings on. I do suggest for some of the O-rings, they say in the manual engine, or it says oil. I don't know if that means engine oil, but I'm actually using this O-ring lubricant. This stuff's super nice. It prevents the O-rings from pinching, cutting, whatever when you're tightening on these fittings. So if I can recommend anything, I would give this stuff a try. Just dab that on your O-rings. Otherwise, you know, flathead screwdriver pick, get some clips undone. All the bolts we're going to be working with are 10 millimeters, so if you got a ratcheting box end, that helps a lot. Otherwise, just a regular old wrench works. Regular box ends and some pliers to get the clips off all the hoses. So yeah, let's jump into it here. All right, so let's get into the bolts and stuff that we're going to need to take off and brackets to get our new bracket in. We're going to start over here at this fuse relay. I went ahead and took the cover off already. It's just a lot easier to work with it when it's not super bulky like this. On the back end here, that little 10 millimeter bolt, that's what we're looking for here. So you're going to want to separate this fuse relay from the bracket itself. It's going to make it a lot easier. I already did that. But as you can kind of see, there's two metal tabs that these plastic portions on each end hook into. This whole unit slides up, not left and right. It goes straight up. But just keep in mind, the back of the fuse relay, you've got all these wires, so you're not going to be able to pull it directly up. It sort of comes out at an angle. So rather than lifting straight up, you're going to rock it back, and you'll feel it give. Those plastic tabs are, at least on mine, pretty old, so you'll know when it lets go. All right, so then the next two brackets we need to get off here. This black one here, this is for the throttle cable. Once you get this off, just general practice in my experience, you don't really want to twist this cable up. If I remember correctly, there's a bunch of little cables that run inside here, and if you get this too twisted up, it might kind of make your throttle funky, or you might snap, whatever. Just good practice to not try and twist that up as much as you can. So good old socket wrench down there, get that guy. And this last one here is a fuse relay, same thing. This is like the easiest one, 10 millimeter. Unscrew that, and then you're going to have all three of these separated from the side of the fender. I try to just lay the bolts out so I can kind of remember the order, like which one goes to where, if that matters to you. They all are the same size, but just to make sure. This next part, I just wanted to kind of do a disclaimer. We are going to be working with some of the relay here, the wires. Best practice, go ahead and disconnect your battery just in case you happen to cut something or touch something that's live, what be it. So just a little disclaimer there before you start working on this next part. Radium, on their diagram, their manual, they didn't really show this part very well, and I'm not sure if I'm doing it correctly, so small disclaimer there too. But at one portion they say just unbundle the relay wires. I don't know what that means. I'm guessing they're talking about this junk back here. There is, on the underside of the relay, kind of a little joint here. There are wires obviously packed into that black tape, so don't cut that, but you can maybe kind of cut this tape off the joint here and you might get a little bit more free play, but I mean, you can already see it's pretty loose just with what I've done so far. So if we look back here, these two wires right here, these were bound by a wire loom. I went ahead and just cut that so it can kind of bend a little bit easier. And then if you follow this next wire loom down to this gray connector here, this was connected onto that white tab right there. If you can kind of see this here on this connector, there's a pull tab, and you see where my fingernail is there on the lower portion. You're going to lift that up. So if it's sitting like this, you're going to push that tab in towards the fender, and this whole gray connector pops up. Not side to side, it goes straight up with it. So that's how I got that unconnected. And then from there, I wish I could show this on camera. It's just way too hard trying to finagle the catch can into all this wiring here. But I will shoot a video of what it looks like after the install. Again, I can't say this is exactly how Radium intended it to be installed, but it's what worked for me. I'll see how it works in the future, and I'll maybe do an update video if I find a better way to do it. Again, sorry I couldn't film this part. It's just way too hard trying to get all this stuff in by one hand. So just to show you the finished end result here of all the brackets together, the new bracket that the catch can is attached to, that goes underneath everything. So that gets it's touching the fender, or excuse me, the frame, I suppose. So anyway, so we got all our bolts back in, all the 10mm bolts, got our throttle cable, another new catch can. And so here's the part that I had to kind of figure out too. They did explain it in the manual, but it's a little bit easier to see in person here. If we can kind of get a good angle on it here. They say this fuse relay box, you're going to end up giving up one of the hooks that the brackets go to. You do put the bracket back on, again, with the new catch can bracket against the wall. So then you're going to put the relay box bracket through there. And then rather than using both of those metal prongs that you unhooked earlier, if you can kind of get a perspective. So here's about where the bracket is, right? You've got your one post here and one post here. You're only going to use, of the two posts that are on the box itself, the last one to attach to that first prong on the bracket, if that makes sense. It'll kind of make sense once you get to this point, but the idea is you can't fit both posts on the fuse relay box anymore. You're essentially shifting it forward. So that's when they say use the forwardmost prong on the relay bracket. But you can kind of see here, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of kind of how these wires are routing around the can itself. They're sort of pinched up against the connector. And again, that might just be me. Maybe I'm not putting this in correctly. I will figure it out maybe as time goes by. But you've got a few wires running behind. You've got the one running underneath. Maybe they expect you to cut these looms even further down. But that, that'd be a little too much trouble for me right now. So again, it's kind of winter time for me, so I don't really have a lot of time to mess with this, but maybe come summer, I'll see if maybe there's a way I can route those wires a little bit better. But yeah, so really the last part we need to do is start routing the hoses under the intake plenum and into the valve cover. Again, I did just go ahead and do this off camera. It's too difficult trying to route all these tubes with just one hand, but I'll kind of show you the general path I took to get everything hooked up properly. But just to start off, and if you're reading the Radium manual, it'll explain it a little bit better too, but well, maybe not. It just shows more pictures, but I'll tell you. The top port here, that is the intake into the catch can side. So you're actually going to route this guy, and these are both the tubes here. If you can kind of see them both there. We're going to route these both underneath the throttle cable, at least on a 2005. I'm sure you 2006 and later all have the electronic computer. And we're going to go straight over the top of the plenum. And then they call these the runners here. So you're going to split the tubes to come up and out between the runners and then thread them in there. I went ahead and used this little pick tool. This was really helpful. I got one hand to thread the hose through the bottom, and then I got the hook and I grabbed the end of the tube and then pulled it up. This was super helpful if you don't want to try and get your fingers down in there, or a screwdriver or something. This was awesome to have. So get one of those if you need it. So I was explaining, the top port here, that's going to route to the PCV valve. So essentially this is, the air is going to flow through that tube up through the top here, and there's a bunch of filter media it pushes down through, and then that return hose, same thing, I'm going to route to the bottom here, and then it comes up into the intake plenum, and then it recirculates that air and helps alleviate the pressure from the crankcase. Then I think on Radium's manual, they did show sort of a different way that they routed all these lines. This was sort of how I did it. Whatever this guy is, vacuum line or something. I just went ahead and threaded it underneath the intake line. Just puts a little bit less stress on it. I think in Radium's they put it over the top, and mine is a little brittle. Didn't want to risk breaking it. So yeah, this was kind of the end result here, and haven't had a chance to fire it up yet. Again, it's too cold. I was sort of anticipating not having to deal with that, but one more side note, I would definitely suggest, if you don't have one, get a decent pipe cutter, like one that they showed in their manual. I used some scissors, and you can't really tell. I mean, you can kind of see the gap there. My cuts were terrible using some scissors, so definitely get a pipe cutter if you don't have one, or find something like a tube cutter. Those are going to be a little bit harder to use with just your fingers, though. And then the clips that Radium provided with the tubes, I only got two. these pinch clips here, they fit the 3/8 hose that they gave in the kit. I don't know if they were intending for us to reuse the smaller clips that Honda had on this PCV hose that was initially here, but those are too small. I tried to stretch them, I tried to bend them, I tried to crush the tube. They just don't fit. So I don't know if that's just a me problem. Maybe I just didn't get the other 2 clips that they sent in a kit, but I'm gonna have to go source some more, maybe hit up Radium, see if they can just send me some or suggest what I can get. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll see the final product here. Looks like it's nicely routed. And again, at some point I'll get back to looking at this wire loom over here, sort of determine if I like the way this is all kind of crunched in here. I'm not a fan of it right now, but maybe it's this by design. And you know, obviously we'll have to figure out in the future how we get the can off to do some maintenance. I did not opt for the stopcock drain at the bottom there, so we'll see how that goes in due time. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, shoot me a comment and I'll try my best to get back to you.